मेरी किसका करते हैं ना हाँ हाँ एक साल हो गया तो
Dear family, dear friends, thank you for joining us today in celebrating our mother. She passed last year on the 10th of May. As the year has gone by, we have missed her and at the same time felt her presence amidst us in so many ways. We will begin today's program by playing one of her favorite stotras, a hymn of praise to the goddess Kali. It is a one-line poem sung to Mother Kali by the poet Kalidasa after she bestowed wisdom upon him. It is called Shamala Dandakam, Dandakam being a poetic style. It goes, Manikya Veenam Upalayalantim. It means the one who plays the veena, made of gems, the mother of the universe, whose beauty and wisdom personified, who blesses us and is worshipped by the gods, who is the form of music, sound, yoga, all knowledge and philosophy, the mother of the universe. Salutations to her. It has been sung by N. Mohan Kumar, so Manikya Veena.
माणिक्यवीणामुपलालयन्ती मदालसां मञ्जुलवाग्विलासा माहेन्द्रनीलद्युतिकोमलाङ्गी मातङ्गकन्यां मनसा स्मरामि। चतुर्भुजे चन्द्रकलावतंसे कुचोन्नते कुङ्कुमरागशोणे पुण्ड्रेक्षुपाशाङ्कुश पुष्पबाणहस्ते नमस्ते नमस्ते जगदेक माता नमस्ते जगदेक माता। माता मरकत श्यामा मातंगी मधुशालिनी कटाक्षयतु कल्याणी कुर्यात् कटाक्षयतु कल्याणी कदम्बवनवासिनी जय मातंगतनये जय नीलोत्पलद्युते जय संगीत रसिके जय लीला शुकप्रिये जय लीला ಪ್ರಿಯೇ
Amma led such a rich life. She had a zest for living and a curiosity that never died. Through this short audiovisual, we wanted to share a glimpse into her life. The music is a Carnatic piece, Baro Krishnaya, by the Bhakti composer Kanakadasa, played on the violin by Ambi Subramaniam. Maund Ragam, born of Shankarabharanam. Special thanks to Billy and our dear young friend Putku who has made this film possible. A glimpse into Amma's life.
No, no. Say it again.
When you die, you take nothing with you except what you are, what you have been, what you have done. Play karma.
Amma has been known for her spirituality. She sought answers to the many questions that she had about life and its meaning. She often sat in contemplative silence and said that it revealed insights that could not be revealed otherwise. I am grateful that a dear friend and teacher, Shantam, will take us through a guided meditation and reflective contemplation today. Thank you, Shantam.
Thank you, Indra, and thank you to all the friends and family of Jayamani ji, Amma, Ma, Ms. E.M. Jayalakshmi, who we celebrate today and remember today. It is very lovely to see all the photographs of Jayamani ji as a child, as a young woman, as a teenager, a married person, and then a mother, getting older, grandmother, great-grandmother, cook, painter. And then as I was looking at them, I wondered, and maybe we all wonder, is it the same person we are seeing, or is it someone different in all these various forms and these different stages of life? And some would say it's the same person. Some would say, oh, no, it's a different person. I guess the closest answer to reality is not same, not different. And now, where is she now? And in a sort of way, she gave the answer herself, the way she spoke in that very short snippet of offering her wisdom. And she said something like, when you die, you take nothing with you, except what you've been, what you are, and what you've done, your karma. And in our lives, we all produce our thoughts, our speech, our action every day, and that is our continuation. And we meditate not only to see us in this body, but outside of this body, in these different forms that we manifest. So to see Jayamani ji in the form that we're used to, and also in other forms. And I very much like the way that the captioning went, something like and beyond, her world, her family, and beyond. And I think the beyond is important. I sometimes like to draw an analogy of our lives with a tea bag. It's not the most beautiful, maybe tea leaves. And when we put the tea bag or the tea leaves in some water, we see how the water changes color, it becomes golden, it takes on the flavor, the fragrance, even the body, as we call it, the full body of the tea. And you can take the tea out, the tea leaves out, but that water has infused, or the tea has infused itself in the water, and has become. And so, in that way, we can see how even all of us, and of course, Jayamani ji with her fragrance and her flavor, has infused herself into all of us who've had the pleasure to meet her, know her, or know her even through her children. So in this short meditation contemplation, I'm going to suggest that we think a little bit of the interaction we've had with her in the past and even right now. I recall meeting her at Indra's birthday, and she was so full of loving joy and compassion, kindness. It is an honor to meet her, and I feel that caring presence is still with me now. So she's become part of me, even in that short interaction that we had. So in this practice, we ask for you to look for her in you, or look for her in her children, or her grandchildren, in her friends. And she's still available here and now. So we know our actions, as she said, reverberate after our death. And that legacy of our thoughts and words and deeds continue through the impression she left behind in the lives of all those people which she touched in any way. So in this meditation on signlessness, we call it signlessness, it's one of the doors of liberation in the Buddha Dharma. It's a practice of embracing these forms beyond the body and not being caught in a particular form. We have a very strong attachment to this form, but in the deeper teachings, we realize that this form only comes about because of many, many different causes and conditions. It could be the breeze, it could be the wind, it could be our parents, it could be our culture. So in the same way, we see Jayamaniji in many different ways, in different forms in ourselves, and how we act, how we think. So I will invite a bell. It's a short, it's a meditation bell like this. I'll invite the bell and we'll hear 3 sounds of the bell. And while we hear the sound of the bell, just try and, I'll guide you through it maybe, and I'll guide you through the meditation. We'll follow our breath and then we'll do a little contemplation, breath, body and contemplation. So please sit in a comfortable way. Try and sit in a way where you can feel your breath in your abdomen. So that might require you sitting up straight, but it's just to be comfortable. Don't feel you have to contort yourself in any way. And just listen attentively to the sound of the bell. Just let your focus stay on the sound. And let that sound drift into a silence that Jayamaniji so enjoyed. If our mind is distracted, thinking, just bring our attention to our breath. As we breathe in, be aware of our in-breath. And as we breathe out, become aware of our out-breath. Just being aware of this quivering intake of life with each breath. If you want, you can put your hand on your abdomen and just feel the gentle rise and fall of the abdomen with each in-breath and each out-breath. And just feeling the quality of the breath, noticing whether it's a long breath or a short breath. and feeling how the breath may be getting deeper, maybe going slower. Just enjoying your breath, knowing that we are alive. And becoming aware of our whole body from the top of our head to our toes as we breathe in, and infusing a calm into our body as we breathe out. Breathing in, I'm aware of my body. Breathing out, I calm my body. And we release all our thinking, our projects, just being present in this moment. And we smile, a gentle half smile of awareness. And as I invite the bell, I will offer 3 contemplations on Jayamani following each sound of the bell. And we'll have a short period of silence that will allow you to contemplate that. Contemplating, how did she infuse herself into me? How did she infuse herself into me? How did she impact me? How did she impact me? How does she continue to be a part of me? How does she continue to be a part of me? So, dear friends, as we complete this short meditation and contemplation, and we'll be hearing from family and friends a little bit about exactly that contemplation, but sometimes we get insights when we sit in silence like this and collectively to remember Germany. And I am reminded of a piece that my teacher, Indra and my teacher wrote. Uh, and I thought I'll just read it out. It says something like, when we lose someone we love, we should remember that the person has not become nothing. Something cannot become nothing, and nothing cannot become something. Science can help us understand this. For Germany, he was a physicist, so was interested in physics. Science can help us understand this because matter cannot be destroyed. It can become energy. And energy can become matter, but it cannot be destroyed. In the same way, in the same way, our beloved was not destroyed. She's just taken another form. That form may be a cloud, a child, or the breeze. We can see our loved one in everything. So thank you very much, and wonderful to see Jayamani ji in Indra and in Vishu and in so many other ways that I can see her now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Shantam. As we hold Amma in our hearts, I now invite our youngest sister, Kamalam, who was named after our mother's Ma, to share her heart about Amma. Kamlu lives in Boston, and she will hand over to our elder sister, Parvati.
Thank you all for being here today. I'm going to share my screen, so please bear with me. When I was growing up, my mother used to wear a key bunch around her waist, tucked in the folds of her sari. So today, I want to remember my mother by using keys as a symbol of 3 important doors that she opened for me. Let me start with the first door she opened, my birth. My mother was nearly 40 years old when I was born, and I was the youngest of her 5 kids. Hers was a high-risk pregnancy, and she had to fight really hard against her doctor's advice to keep me. However, for the sake of her health, the condition for letting my mother keep her baby was to give her baby away. And so, once I was born, much against my mother's will, I was sent away to live with my fraternal aunt. The next time I saw her, I was around 2 years old. And the story goes, as soon as I saw her, I ran straight into her arms and claimed her as mine. And my mother, who missed me even more than I missed her, hugged me tight and refused to let me go. And that was that. We never looked back. And so my mother taught me an important life lesson. Sometimes when you don't have the key, have the audacity to break the lock. The second door she swung wide open for me was her own heart. She showed me what it was to be loved and cherished. And it is because of her love, I learned to cultivate loving relationships in my own life. Some of my nearest and dearest are on this call. My husband, who I met when I was 17, my best friend when I was 15, and of course, my sisters, who I have known since I was born. Lastly, my mother and I use humor as a key to open doors, to shared laughter, and create many, many happy memories. Our conversations were typically lighthearted. I would tease her and she would giggle. She loved jokes and she was really good with riddles. Every time I'd call her, I would look up a joke or a riddle online. And the sillier the joke, the harder she'd laugh. Sometimes she'd laugh so hard, she'd have tears in her eyes. So today, I would like to end my tribute by sharing one of her favorite jokes. The joke goes like this. A mother rushed into her son's room and cried, "Wake up, son, wake up, or you'll be late for school." Her son dove deeper under the covers and cried, "But I don't want to go to school today." So his mother said, "Son, give me 2 good reasons why you don't want to go to school." Her son replied, "Well, Mom, that's easy. My first reason is that all the children are really mean to me. And my second reason is that all the teachers are equally mean to me. Now, Mom, you give me 2 good reasons why I should go to school." His mother replied, "Well, son, that's easy. The first reason is you are 55 years old. And the second reason is that you are the headmaster of the school." My mother would giggle if she were here. My mother, who is the key that opened doors to so much that has been possible in my life. Thank you, Amma. And thank you all for listening. And now I'd like to invite our sister Parvati, Amma's firstborn, who lives in Delhi, to share her thoughts.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Om Sai Ram. Thank you all for being here today, this evening, to celebrate my mother's life. As you've all heard, my mother was a very multifaceted person. This is a picture of my parents and my mother, as you can see, with stars in her eyes. It is very difficult to describe all the facets of my mother in the few couple of minutes. So I'll just briefly touch on some of her facets. She was an erudite scholar. She was amazingly multilingual with a terrific sense of humor. She also had both a terrific and a horrific temper with no patience for folly. And me being her firstborn, I bore the brunt of it because she struggled with my academic slowness. I was not a bright child, and among the 5 children she gave birth to, I think I had the least scholastic prowess. But my mother is known for her dogged determination, and she was determined that her children would lead successful lives. She was an amazing combination of both beauty and brains, all of which I think contributed to shape her children's lives. And today, I have to admit that she was largely instrumental in my success today as a doctor. When I struggled with physics, mathematics, and numericals, and initially she would knock my head out of frustration. Thereafter, she said, I don't want to be a sinner. You knock your own head. So I spent half my childhood knocking my head. And you can see my head has been knocked into shape. I will now quickly take you through some of the pictures that I think some of which you may have already seen. These are pre-COVID times. My mother was always a pillar of strength to us, and this is her with her toothless smile as she aged on. This is my mother with her niece, as well as her niece and husband. It's one of the last get-togethers. I remember my mother for her dogged determination. She fought several illnesses which were life-threatening. She had a horrific stroke, which you will hear about, where she could not move her arms and limbs. She had no bladder or bowel control, but she overcome them all to not only walk about, but to teach young children, especially from the marginalized sections of society. So she did not easily give up, and she expected her children to be like that. And these are unfortunate pictures from the times that we are living in, surreal times. This is a brief break between the COVID episodes and more happy times during our nephew's wedding. And this is the Last Supper, my mother's birthday, where we all got together. And 7th of March, 2021, again with stars in her eyes. This is a prayer meeting that was held today in our department. By the COVID warriors. All of them looked after patients with COVID. And this is the prayer meeting that was held today in memoriam by our staff, by our nurses, and some of our doctors. I will end with a little prayer which was sent to me by one of my nurses. She said, don't cry for me, I will be okay. Heaven is my home now, and this is where I'll stay. I am where I belong. I want you to be happy and try to stay strong. Don't cry for me. It was just my time, but I will see you someday on the other side. I'm not alone. The angels are with me to welcome me home. Don't cry for me, for I have no fear. All my pain is gone. She had a lot of pain, and Jesus took away my tears. Don't cry for me. This is not the end. I'll be waiting for you when we meet again. So do go and run free with the angels. Dance around the golden clouds, for the Lord has chosen you to be with him, and we should feel nothing but proud. Although he has taken you from us and our pain a lifetime will last, your memory will never escape us. She lives on in us, as Shantam said, but make us glad for the time we did have. Your face will always be hidden deep inside our hearts. Each precious moment you gave us shall never ever depart. So go and run free with the angels. as they sing so tenderly. And please be sure to tell them to take good care of you for me. I thought this was appropriate because it is not possible to do justice to my mother's multifaceted memory in the couple of minutes. I thought I'll end on a happier note. This is in happier times on Indira's birthday. She always said, I want to be proud of my little women. And I think she was. These are the 4 little women. Thank you. And I'd now like to introduce my younger sister. As you all heard, I'm the firstborn, and my next sister is Sita.
Thank you. In the days and weeks after we lost our mother last year, my sister Indira posted some images of belongings as she carefully emptied Amma's home. And she'd ask us, is that mother? Do we keep it or give it away? It could be a sari, and we just know if it was or not. There were so many mothers in that expression, mother, reflecting on her life, her very essence. Like fragments, they fleet past my memoryscape. Beautiful, she loved dressing up. I remember the way she wrapped her hair around a big circular bun, moon-shaped, and she'd ask diffidently, how do I look? Beautiful, I'd say, Ma, and she'd smile. She had brains and an extraordinary beauty. I recall random visits from those who knew her when she was young, as a student or when she was working. They would reminiscence about her looks and in blunt Indian fashion say that none of us had inherited them. She loved her saris and her jewelry. They were kept in her trusted Godrej, now painted a burnished russet. It traveled with her through the decades and was always in comforting distance from her bed. I recall going through our bookcase as a child and finding a treasure trove. She had painstakingly cut and pasted pictures of hairstyles, trinkets, home decorations, and recipes. I asked her about them, and she said there were many things that caught her fancy, what she had wanted to try to do. She had many dreams and longings. My mother worked really hard. Looking after 5 children is not easy. In Bombay, or Mumbai as it's now known, we had water shortages. So she'd wake up in the middle of the night and fill buckets and tubs, or pick stones from rationed rice after we'd queued to buy it. I recall her spending a whole day making mixture, or Bombay mixture as it's called, filling a large stainless steel tin. It was delicious, and in a few days it was gone. She introduced me to the world of reading, the rich world of books and storytelling. Daphne du Maurier, Thomas Hardy, Neville Shute, George Eliot. I recall weeping over Mill on the Floss and being immersed in the saga of War and Peace. When we lived in Bombay, there were times we went to the library together to browse and borrow, a long walk and a rare treat, as sometimes we'd stop off and have bhel puri, a snack I still love. In the afternoons, she'd lie down and we would curl around her and she would read. And we would read snugly beside her. And later in the evening glow, it may have been months or years later, we would discuss themes of love, of sacrifice, and of living a life that mattered. She was smart, intelligent, and curious about the world. And though she lived with fears, she had big dreams for us, her children. She'd sit on the floor with my sister Indira and teach her in the evenings and wake me up early so I could study for my exams. Waste of her energy, as I would either go back to sleep or doze sitting up. She fought for my sister Parvati, Earthy as we call her, to take up her calling in medicine. She was a fierce tigress. She wanted us to live the life she never had, be independent, have a vocation, be individuals in our own right. I learned simple, powerful wisdom from her that sustained and helped me find my way as an immigrant with no money. Do what you care about, believe in, and you will earn a living. There is freedom in living within your means, so avoiding the pitfall of debt. And sometimes all you need to do is just listen. I lived far away, but when needed, I could call and literally unload some of my big fears, especially about my children. These she quietly absorbed, and I felt a release. Somehow, things would be okay. My mother was strong and yet frail, irrational, emotionally insecure, the kind of welter of emotions that can encase us all. I wish sometimes, most times, she had a kinder life. I'm so glad she felt loved by her daughters. I feel blessed I saw her joy and happiness when we arrived for her birthday each year. I'd bring her butterfly motif cards and wrap her little gifts in butterfly wrapping. And when she read the words in her birthday card, she'd be overwhelmed with emotion. I'm grateful I said the words I did say and that they touched her. Then we'd eat the food she'd either lovingly cooked or lovingly supervised, remembering each of our favorite delicacies. And later in the evening, we'd drop by, and my sister Kamalu would pester her with her special brand of questions, such as the strengths and weaknesses of each of her children. The last time I saw her in person was in March 2020, just before the pandemic. My son Vedanta, Babush as he's known, had unexpectedly arrived on a work trip. So on her birthday, he walked in. I will never forget the surprised and delighted expression on her face, or the way she held his hand as he sat across her, entranced, rapt, not believing what she saw. She was pleased when she heard she was to be a great-grandmother. And the last time I saw and spoke to her, I was with my 3-month grandson, Ray, a few days before she fell ill. It took nearly 10 months for our sisters to meet in person after she went. I dreaded the drive from the airport. Tradition was I'd leave my luggage at Indira's and go straight to meet my Amma, and she would have my favorite dishes ready. This year, I drove into the block, holding my breath and steeling myself. And what met me was a sea of flowers, reds, yellows, pinks, budding, blossoming, a riot of colors, richly hued, serene, beautiful. And in that moment, I felt my mother, her presence, and a sense of home, a peace. I'm now going to hand over to my sister Indira, who was with me that day.
Amma, the most gorgeous woman in the world, whom we call Amma and Ma, whom some of us call Ammi Jaan, for she's so very dear to us, and whom I often call a cool cat mom, for she has been a great mother to us in so many ways. With all her vulnerabilities and her difficulties, she stood by us like a life force and refused to get spent until she felt that we were okay. In recent years, Ma and I had developed a game among us. I used to ask her who is the most gorgeous woman in the world. And she used to smile her beautiful smile and say, "You." And I would say, "No, it is you." And both of us would laugh and beam at each other. She went to a Tamil medium school, and we used to tease her about her so-called South Indian accent, never mind her vast vocabulary. And she used to say, "Ho, I went to a Tamil medium school and that is who I am." She went on to acquire fluency in 5 languages. Tamil, her first love always, English, her second, then Hindi, Malayalam, and Sanskrit. She read, wrote, and understood all 5 beautifully. She was also a super cool linguist. She had a love for language and could see patterns across them. Ma and I used to often chat about similarities across seemingly unconnected languages. For instance, Kareya means to cry in Malayalam, and the two words are phonetically so similar. Likewise, the word Om, which has a sense of universality in Sanskrit and in English. Omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, and so on. We loved this kind of wordplay. And she loved to read. We read Sanskrit and Shakespeare, the Devi Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita together. We had started reading Sapiens and Tulsidas Ramayana. She enjoyed reading Kabir, the Bible, and the Holy Quran. She was quite the seeker, and I believe that I have sort of absorbed this trait from her in many ways, through observation and osmosis. I used to tell her in more recent times how grateful I am that I am born of her and my father, the one brilliant and beautiful, and so quick, someone who got things done. That is my Ma. And the other, slower, more thorough and meticulous, and who could take time to start and get going. That was my dear father. And I see patterns in me that have both qualities so interwoven. And it has taken me a lifetime to figure these out. Developing an understanding and insight into myself, that is something that I'm increasingly interested in, and she's been very much a part of this journey, as has been my family, some wonderful friends, and my beloved Sangha. I spent the last 5 years living with my mother in close proximity and never ceased to marvel at her enthusiasm for each day and what it brought. She had what she called a fixed routine and insisted on being on time. Time, she used to say, and each thing that she did mattered to her. And therefore, it mattered to all of us in the tiny institution that we called our home. She loved her morning bath, her Ayurvedic rituals, her TV shows, her food, her prayer, ironing clothes so beautifully that they looked new, embroidery and sewing, her art, her writing, her hisab kitab with the local dukan, reading and reading some more. Sorry, can there's someone who needs to be muted? Thanks. Reading and reading some more, meeting new people, and making new friends. Her zest for life and living and her endless curiosity never ceased to amaze me. She was also a great lateral thinker and often came up with unexpected solutions in situations and our legal cases when we felt we were in an impasse. She just did not allow herself to feel trapped in any situation and was someone who always found a way out. Ma was also the most amazing cook in the world. She used minimal spices and her food was so simple, tasty and nutritious that we hardly ever fell ill. Inspired by her, I have now started cooking some of her dishes and she clearly lives through me as they come out very well, quite like hers. She took pride in chopping her vegetables neatly and well in advance. She believed in being on time and before time, and she was. I often say that if she'd been at the helm of affairs in our country, we might have had a different culture altogether. One of determination, work ethic, joy, and completion of what we start. She always said, do only what you love and love what you do. I think I learned the art of right concentration and working with joy and love from her early on in my childhood. I've also witnessed her courage and her strength of purpose. She braved tough men alone when they threatened to beat up my brother many years ago. She was not frightened at all when she and I were mobbed by nearly 100 men in our home in Coimbatore, when she was in her 70s and I in my 30s. We both marched off to the police station at 10:30 p.m., bruised but undaunted. Her courage, perseverance, and warmth inspired so many people. Her children always came first, yet she also made space for so many more rich and deep relationships in her life. She found love, and love found her. She also had her vulnerabilities. She could get angry and carry her anger sometimes if things did not quite meet her expectations. We've seen her fly into a rage in her early years, and God help us when she was upset. We scattered. I remember that I made a careless mistake in mathematics and she got furious. This was when I was in class 2, and I still carry the memory of the look on her face. She could sometimes be quite unforgiving too. Yet she let go of that too with the love and acceptance that surrounded her. Strange that we love our parents more and that they love us more as we get older. Our relationship continued to bloom through her 80s and 90s, and it seems to continue to blossom as she lives through me and I through her. As I see her in my sisters and my friends who love her, as I see her in the things that I do and the reflections that I have, as I have missed her and yet felt her presence close to me and in me, as I have yearned to have her participate in getting this program together, as I walk down memory lane with her, getting this remembrance together and getting connected with all of you who have been so much a part of her life and mine. Amma, you will always be with me, with us, and in us. And now, we have my lovely niece Ananya Gauri share about our mother and our grandmother, followed by our two cousins sharing, Amuchechi, Nirmala and Ramani. They've recorded their sharing and Manish will play the recording for us. Thank you, Manish.
I'm sorry for not being here in person because I have my examinations going on. But I'd like to thank my aunt, Indira Masi, for putting together everything for this memorial. A memorial for my grandmother, my Nani. I've known her all my life, which is only 26 years, but I wish I knew her more. She taught us about life and how to overcome challenges. She was a strong, brave, and courageous woman, someone who was determined and who faced every challenge and made sure she succeeded in life. One such example, which I use to even tell my friends about my grandmother, is how determined the lady was. She got paralyzed a few years back, where she was bedridden. She could not move her hands or feet. She wasn't able to eat, she wasn't able to walk, she wasn't able to write. But months later, with a lot of love, perseverance, and determination, of course, she made sure she stood back on her feet, she walked, she started writing, she wrote letters. She wrote beautiful letters to me while I was in college on special sheets that she had collected all her life. She made sure that she taught children from the underprivileged society, so that she could impart what she had learned over time through her life. I still remember visiting her at the Safdarjung flat. I wouldn't visit her very often, but the time that I had with her there was beautiful. It was all about fun and games. Years later, when she moved to Gurgaon, it became a weekly Sunday regime for my parents and I to trot off to Gurgaon to meet my grandmother and my uncle and aunt. We would bond over lunch, and my grandmother always made sure that she either got something cooked for us, something special, or she made sure that the lady at home got something like mishti doi or ice cream so that we all had a smile on our face. She just wanted to see us happy. She was one of the calmest and most beautiful women I met. And I miss her. I miss her deeply. It is only now, as in through this year, that I've realized how much there was to learn from her, how much I miss her, how much all of us miss her, and that nothing can repay for whatever she did for each one of us. It is exactly a year back when I spoke to her over the phone for the last time. I hope she's in the best of places right now, looking down on all of us with a smile and blessing each one of us today. Thank you.
I was 6 years old. My aunt Kochu and I were staying with Kutti Mama and Jayamani Ammai. I must have been a naughty child. One day, my Ammai warned me that a tail will start growing from my back if I continue to be naughty. She made me feel my tailbone and convinced me that it had started growing. Then I got scared and promised her I would be a good girl. She also comforted me that the tail will stop growing. I really believed her.
Namaskaram, Parvati, Indira. My name is Ramani, and that's my father in the background and my mother. Both have passed on. And Acha was your father's elder brother. That's how we're related. It is an honor and a privilege for me to talk a few words today, to tell you that we are thinking of all of you as you honor your mother. It was our great privilege to meet her in 2020, and Parvati, thank you for orchestrating that meeting. It's one I will never forget. I was meeting my cousins for the first time after forever. I hadn't met Indira before. And to meet Amma was such an incredible experience. She's such a wonderful lady. I'm sure she's looking down on all of you with love, as she did while she was here on earth with us. Thank you for including me in today's ceremony. My thoughts are with you, and may you all find peace, knowing that she is in a better place. Thank you. Namaskar.
I will now request Boban, a special friend of my mother, to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Indira and everybody. Firstly, just giving me the opportunity to be here. There was a lot kind of happening, the move and various things. So I had kind of not been in touch with all of you since Auntie's passing, but I'm really glad that I can be here and share some thoughts about her. I mean, we used to call her Auntie. I met her in 2009 when I was there to work. I think I spent maybe a cumulative maybe 4 years in Gurgaon, and then I kind of moved elsewhere to study and then work. But she was, I mean, such a huge inspiration. We used to spend a lot of time together at that time, just talking about her, the Gandhian in her, and kind of how she used to wear the Swadeshi movement, and how she kind of fought. It was a big Gandhian. She kind of followed Gandhi, but also her kind of fight against the British rule and kind of, India getting freedom and just kind of generally since then, her, constant kind of, this was, I mean, always something that I kind of took from her. Like she never took injustices lightly, and she was always angered by, the corruption that was happening in the country. And this is the time of, the previous, the Congress government, and she would always kind of tell me, you need to do something about this. You need to kind of work and get to a place where you can actually do something for the country. And that is, I mean, always been there. And I kind of moved from the private sector to an NGO, and she was such a huge inspiration for that happening. Even now, when people ask me, oh, how come you moved from private sector to NGO? I mean, why would you do that? I kind of talk about her, and I was telling Indira, I have a photograph of her in my wallet, which I see once in a while, and I think about her and a lot of the things that she taught me. That was one. But then the other thing that I kind of learned from her was discipline. Right? She used to wake up at 4 a.m. every day. However, she was, I think, 79 or 80 when I met her. Then, even as things, she became older, she would always wake up at 4, or that became 5. And I remember meeting her once and she was telling me, oh yeah, now it's 5 o'clock. And I'm still like, wow, 5 is still very early, auntie, and she used to wake up and take a bath. And I remember, the initial first couple of years, she also used to do like, get flowers and make a garland for one of the god statues that she had at home. And that is another thing which she taught me, and always kind of told me that always keep God in your mind and kind of pray to God. And for her, God was not necessarily a Hindu God or a Christian God or Muslim God or whoever, right? It's somebody who you could reach out to to kind of find solutions, find calmness. And she actually taught me a very, very important lesson about being a Christian. And nobody has ever taught me this, and I'm from a Christian family, hung out with a lot of Christian friends, and which is that, she told me that her father told her when she was young that Christianity is about cutting off the eye. And I was like, what does that mean really? Like, what is cutting off the eye? And then she did this, and then she put the cross. And I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's basically not living for yourself, but giving unto others and living for others and doing things for especially those who are, less privileged, maybe born in families that for whatever reason, need help, but basically to continue kind of fighting for them. And the third thing, I mean, and I think many of you talked about it, determination, right? She was, and I can really imagine what Indira said, like the fearless, whether it's 100 men or whoever, like she's so fearless. And I could kind of always, feel that in her presence, even though I haven't been in situations like that with her, but I could clearly see that she was fearless, and she was, she was fierce with people who threatened her, people who she loved, even myself, like, I've kind of been a great beneficiary of her love and her care through the time that we spend there. And even beyond, like, whenever I had problems, I would just call her, not as often as I should have, but I would call her and she would talk, as as Sita was saying, she would mostly listen. And at the end, she would just say, yeah, God will take care and I'll be praying for you. And there was something calming about that, just knowing that she's praying for you. And there was this sense that I used to get from her that she had a direct connection with God. There was some kind of a direct telephone line that she had, and which is why she was calm and she was able to, face the odds and continue to kind of inspire people. Despite her age, at her age, like most people would think that you would not be able to think, or you would not, but she was so sharp. I mean, I spoke to her on her birthday last year, and I remember, like, she was so sharp, and it's one of the things that I kind of keep thinking, like, how did she become so sharp? Like, was it because she was reading a lot or thinking? I don't know what it is, but you kind of want to kind of imbibe some of the things that she did. Maybe it was the discipline, fact that she woke up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., which I still can't do, except because we have kids. They wake us up at 2, 2 or 3, but otherwise, I don't kind of wake up at that time. And I'll end with just saying one thing, and I was kind of, as I was listening to everyone speak, one of the things that I very clearly kind of felt just being in, so Gurgaon is not, and I don't know how it is now, but I think when you come there to work as a young kid just out of graduate school, you miss family, and there were a few friends there, but you generally get a sense that things are a bit, people, you feel like people are rude, or whatever. So but then I remember meeting Auntie, and then after some time I felt like she felt like the tree of life for me in Gurgaon, and that was the main motivation for me to, whenever I would leave home and come back to Gurgaon, I never felt like I was going to a place that was strange. I always felt like I was going back to family. And so whenever I came back from home, I would go meet her if it was possible, given it was, in the evening, then I would go for a walk with her. And then she would make soup or something just to, make me feel nice. Or, if it was in the morning, I would meet her then. But yeah, I mean, I'll end with that. But she's such an inspiration, and I'm glad I asked her for that photograph. And I realized that in the timeline of photographs, this is the one photo that may be missing, just in terms of her from her childhood to now. And I'll send a photo of that to you, Indira, so you can add it in. I should have done that earlier. But yeah, I'm glad I have that, because she will always be there, in my mind. I think she will continue to kind of inspire me in the work that I'm doing, and in kind of leading a good life, and hoping that you can inspire people just like she inspired so many people, not just, of course, her kids, but as you can see, like, I'm like a random person who happened to meet her, and was totally inspired, and kind of yeah. So that's it from me. Thank you so much again for the opportunity to spend that time with her, but also to come and share this. Thank you.
Thank you, Boban. Over to Richa.
Hi, hello everyone, and thank you, Indira, for organizing this really beautiful session and for giving me an opportunity to speak about Auntie. So, when I met Auntie for the first time, and that was in Subdivision Enclave, Delhi, I thought my dear friend Indira, who has 2 left feet, is blessed to have a dancer for a mother, because Auntie's grace, her expressive dancer-like eyes, made me believe she's indeed a dancer. So anyhow, over the years, Auntie and I developed mutual love for each other. So when Indira used to travel, and so at times I took on the role of her local guardian. And like a good guardian, I bowed to most of her demands. And that used to usually begin with a phone call on the day before our agreed rendezvous. And she would call to check, like what time I was scheduled to arrive. And without much nudging, she would ask me to get her favorite things. And basically, those were, she wanted 2 samosas and a pastry. And mind you, this was strictly against the protocol laid down by dear Indira. She didn't want Auntie to be given any food item that had the slightest chance of causing any problems for her. But like they say, like with great power comes great defiance. So we broke all rules in Indira's absence. And so, there we were tucking in samosas and pastries behind Indira's back, followed by a little bit of Indira's chugli session. Auntie used to always tell me that, Richa, you should tell your friend Indira that she thinks the weight of the world is only on her shoulders and she should take care of her health. Or she would tell me why Indira should listen to her and let her eat this and that. And what childlike grin she had, doing all the above. And especially when Indira wasn't around. And so I remember many evenings and afternoons when she fed me her, like divine onion sambar and dosa and a generous cup of filter coffee. I mean, quite unlike Indira's coffee portion. And that's a story for another day. But so we used to really sit and chit chat and gossip. And anyway, I have to be honest that, her food too was a great incentive to see her, beside, of course, the joy of meeting her. And many of you don't know me. I work in advertising. And Auntie possessed this zero tolerance for nonsense, and by that virtue for nonsensical advertising. So in her great disdain for bad ads and poorly scripted ads, she decided someone must be answerable for it. And that person happened to be me. So every time we met, if she had chanced upon a bad piece of advertising, she would probe me and demand to know, like, who's creating such ads and why, and how could she file a complaint to bring those ads down. So thanks to Auntie, I was convinced I had to take the responsibility for the entire advertising industry. And there were many things about her that was so fascinating. She had a great passion for learning, books, and language. We had a few Shakespeare book reading sessions together, and there was so much to learn from her. And I think through her narration and translation support, I have watched a few Malayalam and Tamil cinema as well. In fact, years ago, she would call me and narrate the story of a good Malayalam or a Tamil movie she had seen. And as time passed, like, she became friends with my parents too. And I think right now, Auntie is sitting somewhere up there with my father, cracking a joke and saying, all this is fine, but where are the samosas? So, and when it comes to Auntie, I really feel it's not a goodbye. It's a thank you. Thank you for coming into my life, and thank you for the memories. Until we meet again, Auntie. Thank you.
Thank you, Richa. I'll now request Manish to play the recording from some more friends. There's sharing from several friends, and there were many more who wanted to share. So we have recorded that, and I'll request you to share that.
I met Jai Lakshmi ji while walking in Gulmohar Park. We had a close association of 30 years. She was like my mother, my friend, my advisor, and my mentor. I am sure she is in heaven and eternal peace. Om Shanti.
Hello everyone. I'm Elizabeth. I have known Indra since school days. I have met Indra's mother then, but it was after I came to Delhi that I got to meet her more often. Auntie was always very involved in what was happening around her. She made a lot of young friends these past years. There's a small Sai Baba pendant she gave me many years ago, which I always carry in my bag. She was a beautiful lady, and age did not stop her from doing what she wanted. We miss her. That's all.
Hi, this is Sudha. Indra's friend from Central School, Kochi. I used to live very close to Indra's place and would visit them frequently. I have very fond memories of Auntie and the times I spent with Indra and Kamlu. Auntie would always welcome me and I felt quite comfortable at their place. I still remember the lovely ada doshas that she would give us. Through us, our parents became friends too. Once Auntie jokingly told me, "Do you know what my main job is? It is making peace between these two." She was referring to Indra and Kamalu. Auntie was very hardworking and very intelligent too, and would help Indra and Kamalu in their schoolwork. Years later, when we all met together after a span of 20 to 25 years, she was still an avid cook. We all enjoyed the lovely upma that she had made for us. May her soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Dear Indira, this message is especially for Auntie. We really miss her. We've had such a long relationship with your mom, goes back to 35, 38 years or so. What I remember of Auntie and what I would like to remember is her ever smiling face with a hint of naughtiness in her eyes. She had that sparkle in her eyes. We grew up in front of her. She was always loving whenever we met, whenever we came to your place. We rarely met her post school, but whenever we did, it was so special. A few years back, she cooked when we met her at one of our girly trips. That was the best upma I've ever had. We love Auntie and will always remember her fondly. She was always proud of you and your sisters. Lots of love, Seema.
It is really befitting that I should be recording this as a way to honor Uninair Auntie on Mother's Day. She was certainly a mother figure in my life growing up. It would have been 40 years this year since I knew her. I met Kamlam and Indira and Auntie in 1982 in Delhi. And then I spent a lot of time in Bapanagar. I was almost like a permanent fixture or the third daughter. I say third because Sita and Parvati were married and they weren't staying at home. So I remember spending so much time with Auntie and Indra and Kamlu and talking about so many things under the sun. And she was such an amazing person. And I remember her for, opening the doors for me. I don't remember the entire poem, but I remember the title of one that she wrote. And when I think back, I think that she may have also been someone who helped me find my way to feminism as a way of disruptions, as a way of questioning orthodoxy and tradition. And I recall that poem of hers very fondly, and that one line I repeat all the time because that's all I remember. And the poem went this way: I shall not do your bidding. I will not darn your socks. I will not do your bidding. I don't know, Kamlam and Indra may have the full version of it, or Auntie may have written it down. So, yeah, she was so welcoming, so warm, such a loving presence in my life. And I wish a lot of young girls could have an auntie figure like Uninair auntie in their life growing up, giving them the confidence of, following their dreams. And I remember she was a fierce advocate for her two daughters, Indra and Kamlu. And just so unconventional in her own ways, and how else do I remember her? I also recall what an amazing cook she was. And she used to make these simple home cooked food, which was mostly South Indian food.
for a Punjabi like me, and well, not Punjabi, but North Indian. And I remember every time I make ada at home, I remember Auntie, and I try to replicate that wonderful coconut chutney. Of course, it can never be as good as hers. So I remember her as really, big personality and a big influence in my life growing up. And so, yeah, she will be sorely missed. Auntie, you will be sorely missed. Rest in power and peace and lots of love. Chotu.
ഞാൻ രാധ. അമ്മയെ നോക്കാനായിട്ട് ഞാൻ അവിടെ കടന്നു വന്നു. അമ്മയുടെ കൂടെ 9 വർഷത്തോളം അമ്മയെ ശുശ്രൂഷിക്കാനൊക്കെ ദൈവം എനിക്ക് സഹായിച്ചു. എൻ്റെ ഒരു അമ്മയെപ്പോലെ ആയിരുന്നു. അമ്മ എനിക്കൊരു മകളെപ്പോലെ ആയിരുന്നു. പലപ്പോഴും ശാസിക്കുകയും അതിലുപരിയായിട്ട് എന്നെ സ്നേഹിക്കുകയും എനിക്ക് വേണ്ടി കരുതുകയും ഞാൻ മരുന്ന് കഴിച്ചില്ലെങ്കിൽ മരുന്ന് കഴിച്ചോ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആഹാരം കഴിച്ചില്ലെങ്കിൽ കഴിച്ചോ, എല്ലാം അമ്മ എന്നെ പറഞ്ഞ് ചെയ്യിക്കുകയും നിർബന്ധിക്കുകയും ഒക്കെ ചെയ്തു. ഒരമ്മയുടെ സ്ഥാനത്ത് അമ്മ എങ്ങനെ എന്നെ കരുതുന്നു അതുപോലെ, മകളെ കരുതുന്നു അതുപോലെ തന്നെ അമ്മ ഒരുപാട് അമ്മയിൽ നിന്ന് പഠിക്കുവാനും അത് ഒക്കെ എൻ്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ ഇടയാക്കി. അമ്മയുടെ സ്നേഹം പല കാര്യങ്ങളും എന്നെ പഠിപ്പിക്കുകയും ചെയ്തു. അതെൻ്റെ ജീവിതത്തിലും അനുഗ്രഹമായിരുന്നു. പിന്നെ അമ്മ ഈ ലോകം വിട്ട് കടന്നുപോയി. എനിക്ക് വളരെയധികം ദുഃഖമുണ്ട്. കാരണം അമ്മയുടെ അടുത്ത് വന്നതിന് ശേഷം എൻ്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ എൻ്റെ കുടുംബത്തിനും അത് അനുഗ്രഹമായിരുന്നു. ഞാനിപ്പോഴും ഓർക്കും, ഇങ്ങനൊരു ഭാഗ്യം എനിക്ക് എൻ്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ കിട്ടിയത് വലിയ ഭാഗ്യമാണ് എനിക്ക്. അങ്ങനെ ഒരു സന്ദർഭം എനിക്ക് കിട്ടിയത് ഇനി എൻ്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ കിട്ടുമെന്ന് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നുമില്ല. പക്ഷെ അമ്മയുടെ വേർപാടിലേക്ക് ഭയങ്കര ദുഃഖമുണ്ട്. അമ്മയുടെ ആത്മാവിന് നിത്യശാന്തി ദൈവം കൊടുക്കട്ടെ. ഇല്ല, ഞാൻ ഈ വാക്കുകൾ
दीदी नमस्ते। मैं मम्मी के बारे में सुष्मिता कुछ बोलने चाह रही हूँ। दीदी, मम्मी को मैं भी बहुत प्यार करती थी। मम्मी का बहुत याद आता है। मम्मी भी मुझे बहुत प्यार करती थी। मम्मी को 4.5 साल तक मम्मी का सेवा करने में बहुत खुशी मिली मुझे। दीदी, मम्मी के लिए हमारी तरफ से मम्मी का आत्मा को शांति मिले, मम्मी खुश है, यही चाहती हूँ मैं। मम्मी को देखने के लिए मतलब मम्मी का सेवा करने का बहुत खुशी मिला था। मम्मी के बारे में बहुत याद आती है, सोचते रहते हैं, लेकिन अभी मम्मी खुश रहे, यही चाहते हैं। मम्मी सही रहे, मम्मी जहाँ भी है मम्मी के आत्मा को शांति मिले। और दुख तो बहुत होता है दीदी, क्या करें मम्मी के लिए। मम्मी खुशी रहे, मम्मी को खुश देखना चाहते हैं, मम्मी की आत्मा को शांति मिले। मम्मी के कारण हम लोगों को बहुत अच्छा हुआ। मेरी बेटी को भी अच्छा स्कूल में एडमिशन हो गया। मम्मी का आशीर्वाद हमेशा हमारे साथ रहे दीदी। मैं यही चाहती हूँ कि मम्मी, ऐसे लगता है कि मम्मी अभी भी हमारे साथ ही है, मम्मी हम लोगों को देख रही है। मुझे ऐसे याद आता है कि मम्मी अभी भी हमारे आस पास में है। कुछ भी हमारी मजबूरी हो तो मम्मी सॉल्व करती है, ऐसे लगता है। कभी भी मैं मम्मी को याद करती हूँ, मेरा काम अच्छा होता है। कभी भी मम्मी के बारे में सोचती हूँ, मुझे अच्छा ही होता है। कल भी मेरी फ्रेंड आई थी यशोदा, मैंने दीदी उनके सामने ना मम्मी के बारे में बहुत सोचा, बहुत अच्छा लगा मेरे को, और बहुत अच्छी बात करे। और मम्मी की याद में थोड़ा दुख भी हुआ, बहुत याद आया मम्मी का। रात को भी मैंने बहुत मम्मी की याद किया था। आपने सुबह कॉल किया, मैं सोच रही थी 10-11 बजे दीदी को करूँगी, आपने कर लिया, ठीक हुआ दीदी। थैंक यू दीदी, मम्मी के बारे में बताने के लिए। ठीक है दीदी।
This is from my heart. Auntie, my inspiration, came into Kirat in my life when I was very confused, and she was so strong, resilient, gracious, loving and caring. Auntie always said a calm mind sorts everything out, which changed my life. She was lucid and appreciated this quality in others, especially Kirat. She is a way of life with me. Love you, Auntie. Hello, everybody in attendance. My name is Kirat. I've known Auntie since 2010, and she was one special soul. Irrespective of where she was and how she felt, she never failed to inspire and motivate me and always believed more in me than I did in myself. For that and her warmth, I shall always be grateful. It's worth mentioning that my mother and Auntie shared a very special bond too, and the fact that we were all neighbors, only floors apart in the same building, only brought them closer. She is always in our thoughts, and we miss her dearly.
Amma. My association with her was just a short of a decade. I naturally related to her because she was just about my own mother's age. Looking after our respective mothers was common to both Indira and I. Amma was very well read, and what fascinated me was the interest she took in Indira's legal work, discussing cases, offering suggestions based on her own wisdom and experience. Her total involvement was reflected in the keenness with which she would inquire how the day's court proceedings went every time we returned from the courts. What solid support, Indira. She made it a point to send her special tulsi chai for all of us in the office at 5 every day, which we all relished and now miss so much. I found her very, very affectionate and empathetic. I admired her dedication for teaching children of the domestic help. I had the opportunity to savor her great cooking and looked forward to the rasam, which was always on offer when I visited her. Miss you loads, Amma. Belvedere is not the same anymore. Right.
आंटी जी बहुत अच्छे थे। हम 2011 से आंटी जी को जानते थे। जब भी उनसे मिलते थे बहुत अच्छा लगता था। वो हमें बहुत अच्छा एडवाइस देते रहते थे और हमारे बारे में और हमारे परिवार के बारे में हमेशा पूछते रहते थे और वो हमारे बच्चे के बारे में भी पूछते रहते थे। बहुत अच्छे थे आंटी जी। मुझे बहुत दुख है कि वो अब हमारे बीच नहीं हैं। मैं हमेशा उनको याद करते रहेंगे। थैंक यू आंटी जी।
Jayalakshmi auntie. She was a wonderful lady, gentle, soft, and ever smiling. Her friendly nature is one of the aspects that really attracted our whole family to her. In Belvedere Park, after her morning walks, or whichever part of the day, after her walks, occasionally she would come up to the flat and meet my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law was a bit ailing and never used to go out. So she used to make it a point to come over, sit and chat with my mother-in-law. So I always used to appreciate the feeling that she had, that she should meet up with people who are not so immobile and make them feel happy in her life. I can never forget that part of her. Her willpower and determination or other aspects which I was always impressed with. We were there in Belvedere Park for almost a decade, and I used to see her living her life so joyfully in her own terms, and at the same time making people around her feel very happy. I would say that she exhibited the strength and the power a woman has by the way she lived her own life. I always used to think there's so much to learn from her. one of the other important aspects is her love for my daughter Roshni. Roshni was a school-going girl in those years, and she also had a special love for Patti. She used to go and meet up with Patti, and they used to spend hours together chatting. No inhibition about the age. No? And Patti always used to tell me that I really wish that there was a boy in my family I would have taken in as my daughter-in-law. Of course, to match her age group. That was what she always used to say, that I'm so unfortunate there's no boy of that age group in our family. And I'm really sad that she's not there with us, but I'm sure she will be blessing all of us from the heavens. Thank you.
Namaste. As we gather today to remember one of the most beautiful, loving, caring, a person full of empathy, my dear aunt. She was just not my neighbor, but just like my mother. I and auntie go back a long way when I moved into Belvedere Park. So I could say more than 15 years she has been a mother staying next door. What can I say? I have very fond memories with auntie, and I'm so glad that I have them because that gives me strength to move on. And as I remember her in those memories, it brings not only joy, pleasure, a feeling of being blessed to have her around. One memory of her, which I think I tell this to everybody and I never forget, was when I moved in. I was still young and I was expecting my son. I had gone to the shop to buy curd. I came out and she saw me holding the curd box in my hand. And auntie came and said, this is not healthy for your son. You should not be having this, but you should be having one which is set at home. And, I replied to auntie saying that, okay, it's not working out. I'm not able to set the curd. She said, yeah, well, but this is not good. I came home and then within, I think a few hours, there was a bell that rang and there was auntie, with the homemade curd. And she said that you are not going to have, packed curd, use this, try to set it. If you can't, then I'm very happy to, send the curd to you. And that really touched me, There are so many things that I can talk about auntie endlessly, Her drive to help others. I still remember I had a full-time maid called Jasmine and she wanted to study. Auntie would happily give her time in the afternoon, opening her doors to anybody who would like to study. I had gone to the shop to buy curd. I came out and she saw me holding the curd box in my hand. And auntie came and said, this is not healthy for your son. You should not be having this, but you should be having one which is set at home. And, I replied to auntie saying that, okay, it's not working out. I'm not able to set the curd. She said, yeah, well, but this is not good. I came home and then within, I think a few hours, there was a bell that rang and there was auntie, with the homemade curd. And she said that you are not going to have, packed curd, use this, try to set it. If you can't, then I'm very happy to, send the curd to you. And that really touched me, There are so many things that I can talk about auntie endlessly, Her drive to help others. I still remember I had a full-time maid called Jasmine and she wanted to study. Auntie would happily give her time in the afternoon, opening her doors to anybody who would like to study, which is which is a gesture which I think is is appreciated not only by me, but those girls as well, whose life she impacted. So when I think about Auntie, I see it's somebody who has, impacted so many lives in such a positive way and always with a smile. Whenever I feel down, the chips are down, I think about Auntie. I think about her, how all by herself she was managing, the willpower that she had, to walk, to not miss her morning walks at all in the corridor. Um, what to say? I just miss her so much. Her room and my room walls are same. So in the morning at 5 o'clock when Auntie wakes up, I do get to know. Now when I move out of the house, I do miss, not seeing the door open or an opportunity to peep in and say, hello Auntie, how you are doing. It's not easy, but I guess that's what God wanted. I would like to thank her for being there for me, and I'm sure she's watching from above and giving her blessings to all of us. Thank you, Auntie. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your sharing. Amma's children were her world, yet her world was beyond her children and impacted so many people. Before we close, I would like to ask if there's anyone else who would like to share. And if yes, we could share briefly. And yeah, thank you, Shailaja. Please do. Hi, Shailaja.
And I was very eager to.
Shailaja, you're not audible. I think there's a network issue. Could you shift or something?
Let me see. I'm speaking to you from Palka, our home. And can you hear me? Can you hear?
Not very clearly.
Not very clearly. In which case, maybe it's just been my thoughts, but I did want to say something which I thought was important about our family, your family and my family, and your mom's family, that is the Ekanath family. And I just wanted to say something about celebrating the strength of the women from our family. And I wanted to say that this is a trait that is shared by your mother and my mother, who were cousins or from the same family of Ekanath. And I really wanted to celebrate their wonderful qualities and the inspiration that they provide to all of us from beyond the reaches of this life. So I just wanted to say that, and since my network connection seems to be not very good, I will not make a longer comment, but I just wanted to say that I feel so much a part of all of us, Indira, your sisters, my sister, my cousins, and all of us of this generation of our family, our parents, our mother's family, how much we share and how much we have learned and imbibed from these mothers of ours. And your mom and my mom were very close in many ways, and they had many shared qualities and traits. And I just therefore empathize a lot with all of you. And I just wanted to say that I hope that we are able to take these wonderful memories and these things that we so much cherish forward in our lives. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. I hope you heard some of that.
Yes, yes. Thank you. The connectivity really improved. So thank you so much, Shailaja. Yeah,
Is it
Arti, you were
possible?
saying you wanted to say something. Yeah.
Yes, I was too emotional initially to adequately acknowledge everybody here today. And I just want to say thank you. I don't think any words are adequate to express the immense gratitude and thanks that I have for everybody who has showered so much love on my mother and who remembers my mother with our mother, I should say. And I think, as Indira very well put it, my mother's life was well beyond her own children, and today has been a witness to that. So I would like to really acknowledge and express my gratitude for all that was said here today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Arti. If there is anyone else, otherwise we can close. Okay. So I would like to express my deepest appreciation to my Sangha friends at Ahimsa who've given their unconditional support to getting this together. I'd like to thank Shantam, Geetu, Shalu, Manish, Sonal, the tech team, and as always, my family, my friends, and my entire Sangha who've been present for me through this entire year. Each of you who've been through our journey with us and have also made this possible. I'd like to also thank you all for participating today. And I would like us to leave remembering Amma with one of her favorite songs. It's called Thiradu Vilayadu Pillai. It's about Krishna and his playfulness. The composer is Subramaniam Bharti, the raga Sindhu Bhairavi. So as we leave, we can remember the various facets of Amma and including her playfulness. So thank you.